Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to the channel. On today's video we're going to be looking at a technique I recently shared with you guys about how to make cool pads and textures using an interesting technique within Vital. I mentioned in that video how I was going to show you to make basses using the same technique, so here is this video. We're going to be using a dubstep idea for this demonstration. Now dubstep is not my normal type of music that I make, so this is something different for me. So as a little tip right here at the beginning of the video for you guys is put yourself out your comfort zone occasionally. Try different things, different styles of music. You can learn some interesting things from trying different styles. So we're going to be using Vital once again in order to do this. I've already created an idea which unfortunately I had a slight technical issue and forgot to unmute my microphone when I recorded it before. So this is going to be my second attempt at this video. So I'm going to play you what I came up with before. I made two sounds in the last video. We're just going to make one and we're going to replace this first four bars here. Let's have a listen and see what I created to start with so you get an idea and you can see what I want to replace. Okay, so here we go. Let's listen to the idea.
Special technique.
Cool. Okay, so that's what I came up with. Like I said, I kind of prefer this second bass line here than the first one. And this is another tip at the beginning of the video. When you are making tunes or tracks or whatever, always try and give yourself a selection of ideas. So it's always good to try and not stick to one thing and force yourself to try and work that idea into your tune. Give yourself a few little different ideas, experiment, play around, come back to them after you've had a play around and see what ideas you like on a fresh pair of ears. So that's another little bonus tip for you guys there as well. Try doing that when you're producing. It's a good thing to do sometimes to give yourself options. Anyway, so like you can see, we've got two options here. And I want to replace this one because I kind of prefer this one personally. That's just personal taste. I feel like this one needs a bit of tweaking, etc. So I'm going to mute this idea here, this first one, because I don't like it. I've already copied a Vital over here. So I've got now an empty Vital in here, as you can see, with an initialized preset. We're going to be using, like I said, the technique that I shared with you guys before. If you haven't seen that video already, then have a look up above here. There's the link for you guys. Go and have a look at that video where I show you this technique for creating pads and textures. And today we're going to be looking at how to use that same technique, but we're going to apply it to bass lines. So let's get right into it. Here we go. So the first thing I want to do is I want to set up the technique, which means I'm going to use the spectral filter as always, and you can see that kind of changes our wavetable. So we want to select a wavetable. In the last bass lines that I made, I used the square wave, just so you guys know. Both of those bass lines were made using exactly the same technique as I'm going to share with you guys today. So obviously go away after this video, have a play, see what different bass lines, etc. you can come up with using this same technique. Like I said, the idea every time is just to create something new, original. We don't know whether it's going to be a cool sound, whether it's going to be horrible, etc. We don't know. That's the joy of doing these things, just experimenting sometimes, rather than just copying classic sounds, etc. We're just trying to see what new things we can come up with using these techniques. So let's try and go with, I don't know, let's have a look what we got. Let's maybe use like a noise, maybe. See what happens to the noise when the noise is in here. So with this filter, you can see it's kind of filtering out the noise completely there. So what does that sound like? First of all, let's listen. I mean, I'm not really into screechy dubstep, but I imagine if you layered that up with a few things and put some effects on it, you could probably get some quite squeaky, screechy style, kind of Skrillexy style dubstep. But I'm not too much of a fan of that. I kind of prefer the more UK kind of dubstep, not because I'm from the UK, but that's just what personally I prefer, like the deeper kind of dubstep rather than that kind of screechy style. So let's try and keep along that line. So let's try another wave. Let's try the different noises. There are obviously the second noise here. Okay, that looks a bit more interesting. So we can see that this time it's not completely disappeared, and it goes into this. Okay, so that's interesting. Let's listen. Okay, cool. So we've already got something quite interesting there with like this harmonic sort of going on in this kind of sub from this brown noise. Let's see what happens when we just fade this filter in first. Okay, so if you were to modulate that straight away, you could then, add some effects, etc. Probably get an interesting sound. I'm just gonna put this on 0, and also I want to address this click that's happening at the beginning. So listen to the click. It's kind of a little click there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move this slightly there, and then I'm going to bring this up so we get kind of like we get this kind of round curve on the attack. So that's much better, obviously. We now get quite a smooth attack, but still a little bit of punch. So that's sorted the click out. So now we don't have that click anymore, which is cool. But we want to go into this technique. So remember, the idea is to generally go into here and automate this. Now I want to set up a modulation. So let's go and have something a bit like this, maybe. Some sharp thing, but I want it slow this time because I know that these two are quite similar in their LFO speeds, the two basses I made before. So this time I'm thinking of having some sort of sustainy type bass that comes in slower and is not so fast on the wobble. So let's set this, for example, let's open this up again. And let's move this over here. What happens? Okay, so that kind of does that. So let's try and do it like this. So I think coming in from low to high works quite well. So we bring in these harmonics. See if we can control how much we bring in. Let's listen to the actual loop first of all, see how that works, and we'll decide where we want this point to kind of go to. So let's listen. Let's put it on loop. So it just loops around. Kind of getting those harmonics coming through here. We could change the start point, for example, see what happens. Let's try this now. Go into this MIDI, just have a quick look. We have got an overlap, yeah, so that means if I come into the voices down here and put them on 1 and put the legato on and turn the glide up a bit, we should now get a bit of a glide on that note rather than just a flick over. So let's see what happens here. Okay, getting that. Let's add some white noise to this, for example. Let's also put this through a filter so that we can do that in a bit. This white noise is obviously going to sound horrible to start with because it's just going to be going over the top of this noise until we add some distortion. So you'll see what I mean if I press play. Okay, so we need to go into the effects and add a distortion on top of here in order to get some kind of crunch going on here. We could also add this so it kind of goes up really high and drives it even more. And also control the level of this, so as the drive goes up, this comes in more. Just kind of crunches out. Let's listen. Okay, and let's also go into the filter then, and let's add this filter on here now. So we've got sampler and the oscillator going through. We could also drive it. Let's turn this down a bit to put key tracking on, and let's try some different filters. So let's try like the phasers. Okay, so maybe we could control this with another filter here. See what happens if we put this filter on here. The other thing we could do is in the other LFO here, we could set up a, once again in sync mode, because we've got different, now the reason I selected sync, just to explain to you guys, is because over here you can see that we've got 4 bars, and over this 4 bars, we've got different notes coming in. So the different modes I have are trigger mode, which means every time I press a note, it's going to start again. Envelope mode, it's only going to play 1 cycle per note I play, but it's still going to play from the start. Sustain envelope is going to do similar, but it's just going to have a sustained ending to it over time. Loop points are just going to give me different loop points according to where I select with this. So I can select a start loop point, I can select a loop point that loops from the end, where it starts from here, it starts from there, sort of thing. So none of these really work for me. Point cycle is just going to go from these different points, and it's going to cycle from these different points over time. So what I want to do is I want sync. Now what you need to make sure though is if you're in sync mode and you've got it set, for example, to like 4 bars, okay, you need to make sure that you're starting on 1. So if I was to bring back this sequence here to like 3, then this sync mode is going to start in the middle here, 2 bars later. Okay, so make sure that you're starting from 1. Okay, so you can hear what's happening there. So this is kind of what I want going on. I want to change the speeds with this of the LFO. So considering 0 is down here, let's say the end of every one of these is where I want something to happen. What's the maximum rate? Well, let's go over here and figure out So come over here, and press play here. You can see it's really extreme, so let's bring it down. Try again. So that's kind of cool. And then we know that this one here is down a bit, so that should be slower. Let's find out where this one's playing first of all. So you could come up a bit like there. Cool. Okay, so now we've got some movement in there. Seems to be better with these little swipe ups there. Seems to go into the sound a bit better. Let's move this up a bit, a bit more growl to it. Cool. Okay, maybe one other thing we could just do just to finish off with to this sound is we could add an equalizer here just to boost some of the tonality from the sound. So this is quite a cool technique to use. Sometimes it's just adding a little bit of this here and there. So for example, if we go into this band here, we can quite commonly like boost some of these frequencies here. So let's put this on here. This kind of comes up a bit. We can also move the actual cutoff point a bit so it sweeps along as well. Let's just look at this and see what it does. So what we could also do is add a little bit to the high end here. Let's just move this high end, make sure we use the right one. Should we actually do it? That's it. And cut off can come up a bit. So cut the gain. Might go too high with it, might go there somewhere. Let's just check it. Cool. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it, guys. I think I would probably leave that there, this one. I mean, I could try some other things, but for the sake of this preset and the time of the video, the basic idea to show you guys was how we can use this to also create bass lines. So you can see all I've done is use this brown noise, added the filter, spectral filter to it. You could also like just whack a thing on here so then they control when that comes in and stuff. So okay, so there we go. So you could automate this and you could just call this, for example, filter range. There we go, excellent stuff. Okay, guys, cool. So that's what I wanted to show you, was how you can use that technique I shared with you before in order to create some interesting kind of bassline style things. So have a play, see what you can come up with, see if you can create some interesting basses using this type of technique. It's quite a cool thing to play with. As you can see, you can come up with some more sort of sounds with it. I'm not saying this sound is perfect, but I think it turned out kind of all right. So guys, I hope this was useful for you. I hope you learned something from this one. I hope you'll give this technique a try, see what you come up with as well. And until the next one, guys, take care of yourselves and peace. Special technique.